I'd like to show you why knowing your why is the start of your journey. Without a strong why, it can be so difficult to reach your maximum potential. My name is Dr. Jason Balara, and every week I meet with real estate investors and mindset specialists that are taking action in order to build a life according to their own terms. We will break down what drives successful people and allows them to achieve at such a high level. If you are a professional wanting to break through, or simply someone that wants to hear an inspiring story, the Know Your Why podcast is made for you. Hi everyone, I'm Jason Balara and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today I'm here with Mark Simpson. He's the founder of Boostly, the leading website design agency and online training academy that gives hosts the tools, tactics, and training to boost their profits through direct booking. So I'm going to stop there. I know we're going to talk a lot about Boostly, Mark, but I first just want to sort of first say thank you. Thank you for coming on the show and being here today. Appreciate that.
My absolute pleasure. Thanks for the invite.
Yeah. And I want you to give the listeners sort of your story, your background, you know, kind of what got you to where you are today. And then we'll talk about that in more detail.
Yeah, absolutely. So as you can tell from the accent, I'm from the UK and from a little town called Scarborough. So I'm right up in the northeast of England there. And the town Scarborough itself is a very, very popular tourist destination. In fact, there's a little unknown fact about the area, is that it is the second most traveled to tourist destination in the UK after London. Wow. Which is pretty phenomenal, seeing that you've got, you know, Edinburgh, you know, home of Harry Potter and all of those things. But yeah, our little Yorkshire coast is the second most tourist to destination outside of London. And I have always known it to be that. I grew up in hospitality. I'm one of these rare breeds of where I was actually born into this industry. I didn't fall into it from something else. And I was just so used to always having strangers in my house. I grew up in it was a 4-bedroom guest house at the time. It was set on a 200-acre farm. And as it got more popular in the late 80s, early 90s, and then obviously the early 90s, my parents decided to expand it. So it turned from 4 beds into 14 beds very quickly. And then there was 3 cottages that were added on, all onto the same land. And so it's very, very popular. And, you know, at the turn of the millennia, start of 2002, I had an amazing opportunity to go out to America. Coaching soccer. I wanted to be a soccer player more than anything. I wanted to play for Liverpool FC, but I wasn't ever good at playing football. So I fell into coaching. Did coaching for many years, pretty much 8 years, before I realized I was never going to get my green card. I was never going to get my American visa. Came back to UK with a tail between my legs. I was with a friend that I've known since I was 4 years old, and we were sat in a pub. We're like, what's next? And we just said, well, let's just go down to London. Proper Dick Whittington sort of fairy tale story. So we went down to London, fell into sales and marketing. And it was at that role that I learned all about the power of social media, learned the power of, Google SEO, all of those things. And in 2011, I moved back to the family business with my now wife and my eldest, Alfie. I've got 4 kids, and Alfie's the eldest at now 10. He was just 1 when we moved in, and my role in that business was to help them get online. My parents had the business for about 20 years, 25 years at that point, and they were doing everything on pen and paper. It was all Tipex. There was no Airbnb. There was no, the booking.com in the UK was popular then. And there was Expedia Group, but, there was nothing there. So we got it all online, and we took 25 years worth of offline, word of mouth, online basically. And it worked, really well. We created a Facebook page, and that Facebook page grew to the most popular, most followed local independent page in the area. Our TripAdvisor got to the top 3. And, it was worked really well. And then in 2016, I read a book by Tim Ferriss called The 4-Hour Workweek. Up until that point, I was very, you had your busy badge on, wore it with proud. I'm always busy, 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 busy. And my parents were always busy, busy, because that's just their generational thing. And the problem is, me and my wife was like ships passing at night. We're never seeing each other. We're both working in the business. And I was like, there's got to be, there's got to be more. This is a successful business, but we're working so hard. Like, what is all this? And I discovered the 4-hour work week. And then that's when everything changed, really. I was able to sack myself pretty much from hiring and outsourcing for my day-to-day roles. And because of that, I was able to free up a bit of time. And so I started to go to meetings in our area. And these meetings were for other hospitality owners. And at these hospitality meetings, I realized that everybody was fed up of booking.com, fed up of the OTAs, of being busy business owners themselves, and and all of those things. And I was just asking questions like, what are you doing to market your business? All of these things. And they just looked at me with a blank expression. I mentioned direct bookings, and obviously some of them are direct bookings, but they wanted more. And I just said, I've implemented everything that you need to know into our business. I'm more than happy to show a couple of you how I did it. One night, you can come up to the business after we closed for the restaurant for one night, and 5 people put their hand up, and it was the first 5 people I ever taught. And then I created something called the Hospitality Community Facebook group, which is still going to this day. And it was honestly just for people in Scarborough and Whitby. I never had a vision of this becoming a worldwide brand. I never thought that in 2016. But as with everything, if something works, word of mouth spreads. And that Facebook group, suddenly I could see people applying to come into the group from like London and Manchester and Edinburgh, and and then people from Scotland and Wales, and then people in France and Germany, and then Australia and then America and Canada. I was like, what's going on here? And before I knew it, there was 1,000 people in the group. And it was at that point, everybody was like messaging me every single day, questions. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I freed myself up in the family business, and now I'm answering questions all day on this. And so it was my wife who actually had the idea for Boostly. And Boostly, for those who don't know, is short for Boost Hospitality. So I just merged it together, got the domain name, and I created a online training course, basically. So I just documented everything I did, put it all online. I said, hey, this is the answers to everything you need. Off you go. And that was 2017. And then since then, it's evolved and pivoted and gone all these directions. And now we do website design. That's what we're predominantly known for. But our sort of unique selling point is that we also do training as well. So most website designers, they give you a website and go all the best, or they charge you a premium to maintain it, etc. So what we do is we give you the website, and then it's like, right now you've got all this voltage of training. Go and plug that into your business. Here's the community aspect as well, and everything else that we do. So yeah, fast forward to 2023, I've put together 2 books that did very well. One sold well over 5,000 copies, and on Amazon, and we've got the YouTubes, we've got the podcasts, we've got just touching 2,000 clients all over the world now. And our mission is to help 1 million people, 1 million hosts, and that's been the mission since probably 2018. Well, once we realized there was a bit of traction on this, if we can help 1 million hosts increase their direct bookings, cut down on their over reliance on Airbnb, say, then we can get their attention. If we can get 1 million people together and go, hey, we are hosts, we know what we're doing. We can maybe get a foot at the table. Who knows? We can maybe cut down on the commission charges that they charge. We may be able to get a bit more power back. Have a host at the table. So that's the goal. That's the mission. Let's see if we can get there.
Yeah. That's a ton to unpack. I think like a lot of really interesting kind of highlight points within there. And I think one of the I guess I just want to start so people listening understand. So we're talking about short-term rentals, right? That's really kind of that's the space that Boostly, not with hotels or things like that. You're sort of creating a platform for people to be outside of, like you mentioned, the Airbnbs, the Expedia, all of that. So I just wanted to sort of clarify that for anyone listening who didn't understand. But what I want to go back to, a couple things. One is the 4-hour work week, because I'm sure, like myself, people listening, I've read the book. People have heard. I'm sure a lot of people have heard about the book, and it seems almost like a mythical possibility. Even having read the book, I'm like, I don't really know how to get to this 4-hour work week. But I think because you mentioned that as sort of a turning point for you in your life, with your wife, with your family, that kind of thing. Like, I'd like to sort of talk about that in a little more detail, other than I read the book and freed up time, because I think that other entrepreneurs, this is a thing that we struggle with. You said, you wear the productivity badge with honor, the hustle culture, all of that. It's easy to get caught up in that, and it's hard to unwind from it. So I wonder if you'd spend a little bit of time just kind of talking about that time in your life and what you did to sort of implement, understanding that, you know, again, it's very easy to then decide I'm going to fill that space with something else. But what did that look like for you around that time?
So yeah, for me it was, and this is where again I go to Boostly, and it was set up very deliberately as that with the family business. You know, me and my wife we barely saw each other, barely saw the kids, etc., etc. And I feel so many people get down that sort of route, and it got to a point where I was like, right, my father was a farmer, a Yorkshire farmer, where basically he leaves the house at 5, comes in very late, falls asleep on the sofa, barely saw him. So again, work, and I was about to fall down that trap as well within the family business. But I was like, no, I don't want to do this. You know, I want to be the laziest, busiest person ever, basically. So it's about working smarter, not harder. And ever since reading that book, it then transitioned me on to another book, which was Clockwork by Mike Michalowicz. And those sort of books where it's all about making the business where you aren't the superhero that you think you are, right? So many people, and the example that he gives in the book is the Avengers. So the Avengers swoop in, they save New York City, but what they don't show in the movie is the tidy up afterwards, right? And people hire, and everybody hires. I hired, and I was fall ill of this. So you hire somebody, you give them pretty crappy instructions, you don't properly document what you expect from them, you don't hold them to be accountable and all those sort of stuff. And they make a mistake, and you just swoop in, fix the problem, and go, right, I fixed this, brilliant. You fly off, but then you don't realize the mess you've left behind, as in that person that you hire, they still don't know what to do, so they'll keep repeating that mistake, or they feel like you've just sort of stepped on their toes, etc. So what that book really taught me, not so much to work 4 hours a week, because even Tim Ferriss has admitted the title is an awful title. It's more to sort of get people over the mindset of that you don't have to do everything yourself. And there are I mean, his whole, again, I'm a big Tim Ferriss fan. I've listened to a lot of his podcasts, a lot of his interviews, and it's all about how would this look if it was simple. And the business that I was with, the family business, I was looking at so many aspects, and I kept asking myself that one question. It was pinned upon the wall behind the computer at the time when I was at the family business. Was how would this look if it was simple? And the principles and the tactics that I learned from that book, I was able to implement within the family business. So we hired a virtual assistant, and a lot of the tasks that I were doing were very admin, very mundane, things I shouldn't be doing. They weren't like revenue generating tasks. So I very easily and quite quickly was able to document how to do it. I used things like Use Loom, for example. I documented what I was doing, and then I passed them on to our virtual assistant, and she ran with it, and she could dedicate, time to it. Where instead of me like half-assing a task, she could put proper time to it, which meant that I freed up my time so I could do proper revenue generating tasks for our business. And again, that was one of the key things that I learned back in 2016 when it came to that, and discovering that book was a massive part of it. And the skills that I learned within the family business, just like with the skills that I learned down in London in sales and marketing, when I brought that into the granary, which is our family business, I took those skills coupled with that and I poured it into Boostly when I started Boostly.
It is one of my favorite books is Who Not How. So that figuring out how to not even just how to outsource. Like I feel like it's not so much hard to it's actually taking the steps to do it and realizing what you can outsource. Like I think we tend to assign a lot of importance to ourselves in every single role, and like the reality is that we're probably, as entrepreneurs, we're probably not actually good at everything. We're probably good at a one thing or maybe a handful of things, but we're doing everything. So it's really a great point, I think, to sort of put out there, and someone who's had the success that you have had in using those using that message to help, sort of let people know, like, hey, it's a good idea to find those assistants that, as you said, can dedicate time to something that you were probably just getting done, and not necessarily, maybe not even in the most efficient way. But I think it's just an important sort of point to bring home. So with Boostly now, tell us about, kind of you talked about the vision. How does it, if I were to have a short-term rental and I wanted to use Boostly, like what would that look like? What would the process be? How would I implement that?
Well, first and foremost, what we do is we give hosts the tools, the tactics, the training, and the confidence to go and grow their business without relying on Airbnb. That's our sort of elevator pitch. And so what the process looks like is, number one, I'd like for you to have at least one season under your belt. So a lot of people come to us who are just starting out or haven't even got a property yet and they want our help. So we say, listen, just get that first season out of the way, because you've got to feel the pain. So you've got to feel the pain of dealing with Airbnb day to day. You've got to feel the pain of guest questions and, all of those things, because there's so many mistakes that hosts make when they first getting started. And so once they've felt the pain, it doesn't matter whether you've got one property or you've got 10 properties, you can come to us, and what we do is we book you on a call, speak to our team. We first and foremost try and figure out if we're a good fit for you, but most importantly, are you a good fit for us? Because we're going to, we'll have a partnership here. And if we feel like that's a good fit, then what we'll do is we'll start to put together your website for you. All we need to do that is a link to your Airbnb profile. We ask you a couple of questions and off we go. It takes about 6 weeks to put together all in all, because we do everything. We utilize AI and ChatGPT to build out the copy and put it all together, a few tweaks, get feedback from yourself. And then say the 6 weeks is up, then obviously the website goes live, which is great. We tweak any change, and then after that, we give you full access to our vault of information, so all the training. So again, everybody knows to grow your business, it focuses on 5 things. So email, which is your list, database, email marketing, etc., text message marketing. You've got social media. Social media is obviously Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all of the things. You've got word of mouth referral marketing, which is very, very important, especially for hospitality. You've obviously got your website, and you've got SEO, etc. You've got Google, you've got Bing, you've got all of those things to take into account. And then you've got paid. So we just basically, we don't do those for you, but we show you how to do them because our prices are very low, it's $30 a month. So with that, instead of us doing it for you, because if we were to do it all for you, that would be about $5,000, $10,000 a month, which I know small businesses don't have that budget. If you were a big company with millions of budget, then you would do, but you don't, so you don't. So we really specialize in helping those 1 to 10 property owners, managers, arbitrage, whatever model you sort of go down the route of short-term rentals or medium-term rentals. And we really help you with that. And then from there on in, it's as long as you need our help. I'm all about the journey. Another book that I'm a big fan of, I love Who Not How, but Story Brand by Donald Miller. We're not the hero in this journey. We are your Yoda. We are your guide, and we'll guide you from wherever you need to be, because there's a case in point in time where you will outgrow us, and you maybe want to go down the route of having all those custom things, all those done for you things, and that's cool. We'll give you the help and support to get you there. We've got group trainings, we do Zoom calls, we get friends of peers from the industry to come in and do all the things, and Zoom calls and all those cool things. And like you said, we've got the Facebook group and the community behind you as well, which the thing that I love the most isn't so much our website, although I love our websites, isn't so much the training. I love the training, it's the community, because they've got over 10,000 years of experience collectively in that group. So, when you go in and ask a question, you're not really sure if you're getting the right answer back, because you could be asking in a Facebook group and it could be anybody giving you advice. But in our group, we've got so much experience in there that that it's from people that have been there, done there, bought the t-shirt many times over. So it's the best of the best advice. So yeah, that is the simple process, to be honest. And we make it so clean, we make it so simple, because we know that in this industry, you don't have to have a Mona Lisa website to make a booking, turn a looker into a booker. Look at Airbnb, very simple booking process. Look at Expedia, very simple booking process. Booking.com, very simple one. All it has to do is work. So we've built a website that is very templated, built on WordPress. And all we do is we basically personalize it with your logo, with your properties, with your face, with your name. And it is very templated, but it works. And so, yeah, that's why our system only takes 6 weeks to get done.
Yeah. It sounds simple is effective, right? It sounds like that's exactly the way to do things. I mean, sometimes people try to really overcomplicate it and just make things more difficult for themselves. So it sounds like a really great sort of, even if I guess I don't know if the idea is to get people completely away from Airbnb, or if this is meant to be a complementary type of structure that helps you, kind of capture more leads, more, just make your property run better. But it seems like it could be used probably in either way.
Yeah, I mean, the big misconception about what I talk about is that people think that I'm saying, right, well, you got to go cold turkey on Airbnb, 0% Airbnb, which is further from the truth. It's as dangerous going 100% direct bookings as it is being 100% Airbnb. What you need to do is you need to have multiple revenue streams into your business. It's just like any other business in the world. We are very lucky in this category, in this vertical that we call hospitality, that you can start a business today, take a couple of pictures on your phone, and then upload it to a one or two websites and be guaranteed to bring in revenue. There's no other industry like it. Like for website design, there's no website design listing site that I can go put Boostly on and be pretty much guaranteed to get revenue. But because we are in the industry of making memories and we are very in demand, it's the case with Airbnb, Booking.com, and Vrbo. Now that is a plus point. That is a blessing, but it's also a con, because the more that you rely on said platforms, the more lazier you become, and you become over-reliant. And when you become over-reliant, then you become reactive. And it gets to a point where the bookings stop coming in, or it becomes very oversaturated, which was what we are now on Airbnb, for example. And so your property doesn't stand out. And if you're always sat there waiting for a booking to come in and you're not proactive, then it is going to damage your business in the long run. So what I'm saying is right, you need Airbnb, but you got to make them work for you and not the other way around. You need to be listed on Airbnb, just like you need to be listed on Vrbo, Booking.com, but you also need to have a direct booking website. You need to have a property management software. You need to have X, you need Y, and Z. And at that point, people glaze over and they go, oh, that sounds like a lot. I was like, okay, well, congratulations. That's what it is being a business owner. You have to do these things. And it's just education. That's literally all it is. That's all I really see myself as is an educator, basically.
Yeah. It sounds like a fantastic, really opportunity for people. The point about, sort of welcome to being a business owner is so true. It's, I think, as you said, because you can have a house, take a picture, put it on Airbnb, and in theory, people will give you money to come be in that house. Like, people think it should be easy. And yet that's really literally just very much the tip of the iceberg, the very, very beginning part of it. And then it's like, I feel where people do get, kind of, I don't know, jaded, they get unhappy with that, is that then they get to the part where it's actually a business. If they want it to be successful, if they want to make money and be able to, sort of not spend every minute of every day doing everything involved in that, making sure that your guests are happy and the turnover and all of that. So no, I think it sounds like a fantastic addition to anyone looking to have, that hospitality business. Mark, I want to switch gears. I want to get the chance to ask you the questions that I ask every guest. And I don't want to keep you all day, even though this is very fascinating to me. So the first is, of course, in relation to the name of the show being Know Your Why. So I like to ask every guest, what is your why? What drives you towards these levels of success? You got yourself to the hypothetical 4-hour work week, and then found a new business, a new passion to fill it with. So what keeps you going?
Well, the mission, basically, I want to leave like a standpoint in this industry now, where the reason why it's because if I can get 1 million hosts to cut down on our over-reliance on Airbnb, and in turn, those 1 million hosts educate the guests about the power of direct bookings. Because if you were to go into your city or your town or your village, wherever you live, and you were to ask 10 people, what does direct bookings mean? They won't have a clue. So we need to educate the industry on this, about why the powerful of it. Because Brian Chesky was on a podcast interview it was the Sway podcast, SWAY. And the interviewer, really good interviewer, asked him about direct bookings. She said, wouldn't Airbnb hosts like to know more about direct bookings? Do you think your Airbnb host would want to take direct bookings? And he dismissed it instantly. He said, nah, they don't care about that. Where I know that's not the case. They do care about it, because they want to have a business that's not built on Airbnb's land. And Booking.com, again, from the years of doing this, I've got to know people at Booking.com, and they And they basically know full well that as soon as a guest has stayed at your property, then it's the host, has every right to remarket those guests so they come back and book with them directly next time. But they also say that hosts don't know how to do that. So I'm saying, well, we do know how to do this. And so I basically, this is why I create all this content, do all these podcasts, right? 600 podcasts in. We've got over 1,000 videos on the YouTube channel. There's 80 hours worth of training content and all of those sort of things is because I know how easy it is. Most of the tips that I show people don't cost any money. You just have to make sure that, you're following the right track. And so if I can put people on the right track, if we can get to that 1 million and we can actually start to get the attention of the OTAs, then who knows what it may mean. It may mean that we can get a foot at the table. It may mean that we can get better rates of commission. It may mean that we can, get more say in the business, because the worry is that by 2030, the way that we're currently going, if we don't do anything, 80% of all bookings that come in this industry are going to be via an OTA. And the biggest worry to me is that Airbnb are on track by the end of next year to have 60% of the whole industry. Now that's a worry because only in 2017, they had 15% of the whole industry. So they're growing fast. And if they start to monopolize, they could easily do what Amazon have done to the e-commerce world. And if it gets to that point, the 3% that they charge now or 14% commission charge that they charge now, that could look very differently by the time it's 2026, because what's stopping them from turning around to a host and saying, hey, we're generating 90% of your whole revenue here. I think this 3% should be about 15% or 20% or 30% or 40% or 50% or 60%. When I give that analogy, people go, it'll never happen. Well, I'll give you an example. This right here, this is that book that I put out on Amazon. I had no other avenue of doing it. It's called the Book Direct Playbook. I had no other avenue. I haven't got a printing press behind me. I couldn't do it from home, right? So I had to go for Amazon. And so for every book that I sell, for every dollar that comes in Amazon, I lose 66 cents to every dollar. 66% goes, right? And they do that because they can. There was no other option. And if we keep going down the route that we're going, if we keep calling it an Airbnb, if we keep calling it, I've got an Airbnb business, then we are literally going to go down that route. So my mission, the thing that keeps me going every single day is just educate every single day. Repeat. And if we can get there, phenomenal. I just need people to come on us with that journey.
Yeah. No, it makes it. It's a great example on Amazon. It's a funny, they, all of the things that you get with Amazon Prime and everything. And I'm like, is there anybody who doesn't have Amazon Prime at this point? Like, it's just like all of this stuff, and they raise the prices and everybody still pays it. And I'm not even arguing whether or not that's a good service or what, but it's just kind of a funny thing. Cause if you think back, this was right before pandemic, but basically like the big thing, Amazon's big thing was 2-day shipping, right? Like guaranteed 2-day shipping. And then they were going to do 1-day shipping. That was the next and that was right before the pandemic hit. And guess what? Now there's no talk about how fast you'll get it. It's mentioned when you check out, but like, that's not their platform anymore. It doesn't matter how fast you get it. And they can say, oh, it's because of supply chain issues or all. And I'm sure that's part of that's true, but like the reality is like that they're just, it's just moving into all the, sort of the things that you get you in the door are really no longer a part of why you would actually use Amazon. And so I think that's, those companies, when they get that big a hold, that's exactly, it's hard to do it any other way. So yeah. It makes a lot of sense. Tell us something about yourself that isn't common knowledge, special skill, a hobby, just something to let listeners know you a little better.
Okay. No one knows this, but I've got no sense of smell. No sense of smell. Never have, never will. No sense of smell. So I'm awful to try and check if I smell or not. So luckily I've got my wife who will tell me, honestly.
she'll let you know. That is a first. 200 something episodes. That is definitely a first. I however did have a college roommate that had no sense of smell. And it was like, I'd never heard of that before. So now I know of 2 people.
This is why we changed the baby's nappies and diapers. So this is why you
it doesn't bother you at all.
It doesn't bother me at all. Yeah.
When people want to reach out to you, what's the best way?
Instagram. I love Instagram. It's the only social media that I actually have on my phone is Instagram. So it's at Boostly UK, BOOSTLY UK.
Okay. We'll put that in the show notes for people. Final question for you, Mark, and you can take this in sort of whatever direction you want. I generally ask, what piece of advice would you give to someone getting started in real estate? Or you could, sometimes it's in business, whatever you think is applicable to the message that you want to put out there.
Yeah. Okay. So my one piece of advice is that there are so many podcasts, there are so many YouTube channels, there's so many books, and there's so many talks and conferences and events. I think the one thing that has put me onto that trajectory more than anything else is that I like to implement. So whatever I listen to, watch, consume, or whatever, I just take one thing and I implement it straight away. So whatever that straight away aha moment is, I write it down, or I take a voice note and I make sure that it's implemented within the business as soon as possible. And the flip side of that, and I see so many people, is that they fall into analysis, paralysis, and they don't get anything done. And they've got all these amazing notes and they've got all these ideas, but then they never actually action on it. So yeah, that's my one piece of advice is whatever podcast or whatever you do, just take that one piece of aha moment and just implement it into your business or your life straight away. Yeah.
I love that. That's great advice. Cause even I will take that for my own, because I think that is the thing, I hear people on podcasts, even like a social media post, and I'm like, that's a great idea. And then it's gone, 10 minutes later, not remembering it, or I'm trying to track it back down later or something. So that's great. A great piece of advice, and perfect spot for wrapping this up. Thank you for coming on the show. Thank you for sharing your story with us and taking the time out today. I really appreciate it.
My absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thank you. All right, everyone, have a great day.
I'd like to show you why knowing your why is the start of your journey. Without a strong why, it can be so difficult to reach your maximum potential. My name is Dr. Jason Balara, and every week I meet with real estate investors and mindset specialists that are taking action in order to build a life according to their own terms. We will break down what drives successful people and allows them to achieve at such a high level. If you are a professional wanting to break through, or simply someone that wants to hear an inspiring story, the Know Your Why podcast is made for you.